What's up, everybody? Yep, it's that time of the week again, bitch. That's right. It's another episode of Old School, New School Comedy Podcast. And I am your host, Christy Miller. And this week, I have... he said to say it from the heart, so he's so dead right now. I'm going to throw him under the bus. This man... You know, this is where we come and talk shop. The old school, I always say, like, shh, comics are talking, you know? And this show, we broadcast live, kind of, sort of, from the Comic Strip Live here in New York City. And this man with me this week is someone that's near and dear to my heart. I didn't get to become friends with him until the pandemic. Thanks, COVID. I took the vaccines and he's still here. Dun-dun-dun. Well, hold on. Oh God, this man is a legend. He started out with you may have heard of this guy. This, you know, it's a rare guy, but this cat named Eddie Murphy. I
was a kid, young kid.
Yeah,
he had some promise.
Yeah, he's going places, I think.
That's what I thought the first time I saw him. I thought, you know what, that kid, he is going to make people think Rodney Allen Rippey was a fluke.
Good night.
This is going to be the death of me. I can
yes,
tell.
Yes, I
know. No, you really, if you were going to be prepared for me, you should have crickets.
Oh.
You should have.
Do I have crickets? Of course.
No, that's even better.
The applause.
Those are large crickets.
Yeah, large crickets that use their hands like this instead of. Anyway, he was also a producer for what, 31 years?
Actually, writer-performer.
A writer-performer, whatever.
Well, producer, you know, makes it seem like I had a lot more responsibility than I really did. So
he was the resident funny man and writer on Imus in the Morning. Y'all remember that? Oh, those good old days.
Back when AM radio used to exist.
Yes. And his hair was big enough for AM radio.
That's right. That's right.
Also, you probably have seen this gentleman here on The Little Shop of Horrors on Broadway, or Chicago, or
How to Succeed in Business.
How to Succeed in Business,
or The Odd Couple,
or The Odd Couple,
or Sweet Charity.
Hey, that's my stripper name. Swing low, sweet charity. Anyway, this guy is probably one of the funniest men I've ever been graced in the presence of. He also wrote a really funny movie script I want to talk about more that we did a reading of.
A play. That's how much you paid attention.
I'm trying to build you up.
It's eventually going to be
a movie script. See, I'm looking long term at your life.
Okay.
You think small. I'm thinking big time. Anyway.
I always think small. You're much better off thinking small and then being pleasantly surprised later on.
I like to think long term, so I'm fully disappointed.
Oh, see,
because I'm a woman. That's what we do.
I'm going to be dead in 2 years, so I don't
Shut
look
up.
that far
Bite your fucking tongue. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is the legend himself, Mr. Rob Bartlett.
My little queen wave.
You know what our queen wave is in Hell's Kitchen? Hey, girl. Nothing, folks. Come on.
You should think about doing this for a living.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I should try it.
You got a spark there.
Oh, good. Here I quit comedy this morning, like I do every day.
Which I've done every day for the past 43 years.
I go, what days do you quit comedy? On the days that end with a Y.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's going on with you? What's the latest in the Rob Bartlett world of genius?
It's I'm doing a lot of teaching.
Uh-oh.
I started doing COVID, doing online coaching and acting teaching, giving these young kids starting out. I'm giving them a leg up and giving them the benefit of my wisdom, my Broadway veteran wisdom, my national television character actor credential wisdom, my stand-up comedy wisdom. I'm just trying to, I'm not making any money yet, but it's good. I'm helping the kids. I have two students.
I believe the children are our future.
I played it as a theme song.
As they fall off the stage in graduation.
I have two students in Belfast who I work with every week.
What do you have, a restraining order? Are they not allowed within 17 continents?
It's actually my first my first student.
Wow.
Rowan, he came to me. He was doing Little Shop, for
Oh.
his mom's theater company, and was Mushnick, and I guess he looked me up online and saw,
Hmm.
and then I started promoting my, rbstudio.com, and he inquired, and so we started working with him. He had an audition. He had to have 5 songs for a
Hmm.
musical theater program, 5 songs,
Hmm.
different songs, and so we worked on them as monologues.
Oh, fantastic.
And then he did, and
That's
he
brilliant.
ended up, getting a big deal out of it. And he's so good that I just put him on scholarship. So I'm not making any, but he is so damn good. It's like
Oh,
he's better than some people have actually been on Broadway with. So
I'm not surprised. I mean, that's kind of like, in, Panama or the DR, like baseball.
yeah, exactly.
Like the hidden talent is in
Yeah,
these rural places that are just, and you feel like they're never going to get discovered. But thank God with the internet, you found him.
yeah,
And now his career is over.
it's over. It's over. He's dead. I said, you should come over here because you get a run for your money over here. But
He's kingpin in Belfast.
there's a lot going on over there.
Really?
Yeah. And he introduced me to a buddy of his, a friend of his from school,
Hmm.
Conan, and so the two of them, I work with the two of them.
Was it Ronan and Conan?
Rowan and Conan. Yes, they're both
Rowan and Cohen's laughing.
That's right. They're both really, really great. And I have, usually I get like college students who are going to audition for their programs.
Fantastic.
And then there's a handful of people who will just contact me for an audition coaching session. Pixie, you met Pixie at the reading. Pixie Esmond, she played
She the girl sitting at the upper table?
the short.
Yeah, she was cute. She was
Yeah,
really cute.
yeah,
What a
she's-
fun crew that was.
It
by
was
the way.
fun. It was a lot of fun. It was the first time I actually heard it out loud.
Sure.
Read through it. So all the voices in my head were represented by actual real people.
I love that I could be one of your voices in your head.
You're great. I told
Oh,
you.
thank
So
you.
You're an actor. You got some acting chops there.
Yeah, I did all that in the 90s.
I know. I can tell. You can always tell. It's you can't really teach the natural
Yeah.
part. If it's a natural, it's a natural. So, and you're definitely a natural. So,
Thank you.
so I've been doing that and doing some writing, and I'm doing actually this Tuesday night. I'm doing my act for the first time in 3 years. When was Nelson's Benefit? That's the last time I did my act. 2 years.
That was a fun night for Bob Nelson.
It was a fun night.
It was all the has-beens and never wases of comedy.
and, and I was headlining.
And I wasn't even booked. How sad.
No, but it was great.
I couldn't even get on the line.
We actually
I'm
met in
kidding.
person after all this online exposure together.
I know.
It was great. It was like, but I told you, it was like, I felt like I knew you
When I met
started
you,
out with
yeah,
you
on
know.
that telethon that we did, that
Yeah.
24-hour
Yeah,
fundraiser on in lockdown,
Yeah.
and when I saw you, and I always knew who you were
Mhm.
and knew of you, but to like sit in like our East Hollywood squares and just riffing. Oh my! I haven't laughed so hard in my life that night.
That was a really great. That was a great. I forget what it was for. It was for MS.
cares?
Whatever it was, it
Whatever.
was just great. Richie Byrne and Mark Riccadonna and just
And Craig Gass was there, and you and me and Poveromo, John Poveromo.
Romo, who
I think I was the only girl in our group on that time slot.
because nobody can hold a candle to you, Christy. That's why.
Well, I just killed them. That's all.
That's what it was. It
I said,
helped.
"Bitch, get out!"
Get rid of the competition.
Right? Because women can't be friends.
No,
You know that,
absolutely not.
especially
No.
women comics. Oh my god!
Well, men and women comics can't be friends either.
Oh yeah, we can.
All right, okay.
We can. Because men will be nicer to women comics than women will be to women comics, because men still see a vagina and there's that slim shot of fucking her. So their odds. It's true though. Think about it. It's
No,
so true.
I-
I'm a female comic, believe it or not.
No, I
Contrary to popular belief.
You actually, you're pretty funny for a girl. You- That's going to get real old real quick.
That's already old.
It's like my act.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nothing's that old.
that's true.
Cher is that old as you, sweetie?
Yeah, so I'm doing that. There's the Cinema Arts Center in Huntington is doing a new thing called Stand Up Sit Down, where they have. I'm actually the first one. I
wow.
do some of my act, and then the guy comes up and interviews you on stage. He tells stories from your career, which I have.
You
about
have
1,000.
millions. You have some
1,000.
amazing stories.
Some funny stuff, some crazy stuff that's happened over the years. I have to say. I mean,
I just want you to go off in one of your characters on one of those stories, telling the story, but you go into one of your many characters that you just zone out and become this crazy person. Oh, Dude, if you ever get a chance, Bartlett is fucking the greatest off the cuff.
I was doing when I was on Imus. I did from the Beach Boys. I did Brian Wilson. Hi, I'm Brian Wilson. How are you? I'm fine. So, and I would just drop into Brian Wilson or whoever. It was always that was always my background. I never really did straight stand up.
No.
It was always like character bits. I started out, I had a suitcase. I was a prop comic and did characters. And
dun, 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 dun. Look out, Carrot Top.
That's right. No, really. No, really. I put him to shame. And eventually I just got tired of lugging that suitcase around and just started doing the characters. But what I would do is I would do almost like these monologues.
Right.
With a character in it. The signature piece at the time was Tom Carvel. It was a Carvel commercial where Carvel was interviewing one of the store owners like he used to do back in the day.
Right.
And the store owner was in the Bronx. He married a woman from Italy who didn't speak any English, and he had a daughter who had a limp. And he was trying to make money for the operation because his daughter kept saying, "Daddy, why do I walk like this?" And but
it's because you were a pimp in a past life.
Carvel had this promotion: you buy one, get one free, which
legs
pissed off. Exactly, you get one, you get.
So bad.
You buy one, you get one. You get the one you buy. And so it was Carvel, and I would do the guy Louis, and the guy just kind of loses it, and I was like,
right.
But it was like this 4-character thing that I would just go into because Jonathan Winters was a huge influence.
Jonathan Winters, when I was a kid, and he was on Showtime. He had a show.
Yeah, he had a Showtime.
Had a half-hour show.
Yeah,
that shit was so fucking genius. I would be glued. And my favorite part, of course, as a child, when he would go up in the attic and pull different hats on and change characters.
They just let him walk around the attic, and it's just like he could do 40 minutes with an umbrella.
Yeah,
it was like it's just genius. Such genius stuff.
And for those of you out there, if you don't know who Jonathan Winters is, you need to look him up and research him. This is the old school portion of old school, and it's like I love comedy history.
Oh yeah,
and it bums me out that all these new jacks now have no idea their history.
No idea. It's a shame.
It's a shame.
There's he did a Sinatra Friars Club roast, and he came out as Sinatra's bus driver, and
I remember
he renders Sinatra, Johnny Carson, and just about everybody in the dance to jelly.
Yeah,
but because the stuff that comes off the top.
He was so quick and brilliant.
Yeah, I pulled over to the side of the roadway and we got a dog. Frank wanted a dog, and they were selling a dog on the side of the and so the dog. We put the dog on the hood of the bus, and then it started to snow. And I put the windshield wipers on. And of course, the dog got caught in the windshield. Woo, 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 and the dais just falls apart.
Yeah,
just you crying, laughing. He was just a genius. I cried when he died. It was just so.
Broke my heart. He's one of my first big idols that I would just watch and just watch him work and watch him off the cuff and how he was so free and trusted his gut and so committed to the characters that everything was hilarious.
He would go places that
nobody would ever think to go.
I mean, Robin Williams would go on and on and on about how inspired he was by Jonathan Winters with that very thing. It was just like he would pick up on the smallest thing and just.
It's a gift.
Really a gift.
It's really a gift. You can't teach it.
You can't. And there are a handful of guys who can kind of, there's the comics who just memorize every single word in their act. They have the same inflection. It used to kill me. I'd be on the road, and the opener and the middle act would literally, you could just play a tape. It was exactly the same inflection, the same timing. Not that the material was bad, but the performance was so
But you knew, because it was like listening to a tape.
Right.
And then you go see it live, and it's like they're lip syncing to that tape. It's like Britney Spears.
Yeah.
I won't.
You went there, though. You almost did.
I touched it.
I know, you got it. It's a crutch. You don't need it, Christy.
Well, it's like, I do.
You do?
No, I don't. Well, it's like, it's funny because I had this conversation when I was opening for Andrew Dice Clay at Soul Joel's a couple years back we did the Palsy shows because he was filming a documentary. I don't know if it's coming out or not, but we filmed a documentary. It's called Behind the Leather. I really hope it comes out because it's brilliant.
It should.
And so we did the Palsy shows when he was Brian Wilson for a while.
Oh, God.
That's a callback, ladies and gentlemen. That's a callback.
See, in comedy, they have a thing called a callback. It's like when you set something up earlier on in your act, and then later on you bring it back as a punchline, and then the audience feels smart because they remember.
I was almost touching the rim shot.
Sit on your hands.
Okay.
All right.
So, but it was funny because like Joel Richardson, who owns it, his girlfriend sat in the front row both nights. Mm-hmm. And you know my act. I know my material, for my hours of material, but I don't memorize word for word.
Never
I can't. My brain doesn't work that way.
Never the same. I'm
so fast and all over the place that it's whatever's happening in the room, I address it. And I like to jump in the pool and meet all the people in the audience and go, hey, what are we doing? Is this where we are? Okay, I'm going to talk to you guys that way, as opposed to dragging them, kicking and screaming.
You work a crowd like few people I know work a crowd, and you seamlessly add the stuff that you have.
I use them as segues. Yep.
Exactly. And it all seems spontaneous. It never seems rote. It's always...
I have more people come up to me after shows on the road or whatever, like, did you just make all that up on the spot?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, no.
But it comes off that way.
Yeah,
Pavarotti does the same thing. Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah, I don't like to sound rigid, and nothing against it because I used to be jealous of those comics like the Jerry Seinfelds. Like even a buddy of mine that I came up with, Bob Oshak, who became a big TV writer. This dude had everything was memorized word for word. And I could see him in his head reading, like through his eyes, reading the teleprompter in his brain. I was fascinated by that people could memorize like that. But I'm too all over the place and I like to see what's happening. I can't because I'm too distracted by a room full of people.
Yeah, well, see, so that's the thing too. So Jerry is prepared, but he never comes off rote.
No,
he knows his material really, really well, but he also performs it. He knows what he needs to do in terms of making the audience feel comfortable, and it's second nature. I mean, for as long as he's been doing it, he's doing
it's
longer than me, and so and he knows how to like say the words that he said 1,000 times before as though it was the first time he's saying. It's when you do a play. Like you're in a play on Broadway.
Committing to the bit.
Yeah, that one is absolutely true. You got to commit to the bit.
And believing what the fuck you're saying.
And making it seem like it's the first time. It's so funny because...
but you really have to love what you do. And like Joel's girlfriend, if you love what you do, it's always going to feel fresh.
Right.
And, Jerry does. And it's like when Joel's girlfriend came up to me the second night after the show, she looked at me and she goes, holy shit, I just saw 2 different shows in 2 nights. She goes, how did you do that? I said, well, it's wherever the audience is. I mean, the first night they were drunk and rowdy when they got there because we're just coming out of lockdown. So there was still early shows. Nothing was open late. Things were still under restrictions, but not restricted, So I said, it's wherever. The first crowd was rowdy, like drunk, like happy hour, come to the show after, like crazy. They were already drunk when they got there and they kept drinking. So I had to match their level and their energy and then corral them. It took me 25 minutes to get them behaving so Dice can have a good show.
Right.
So she goes, how do you do that? I said, well, she goes, do you just make? I go, no, all the materials here, I did pretty much almost the same jokes. I go, but I use you guys and whatever's happening as a segue. She goes, that was brilliant. She goes, I just see guys every night and it just sounds like they're reciting off of a piece of paper. And I said, well, they are. And God bless them. I can't do that. I wish I could. My life would be so much easier.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, no one's going to remember it. See, that's the thing. You want to leave an impression, especially they're coming on a comedy show. Like in the old days here at the Strip and at Catch, they'd see 13, 14, 15 acts in a show.
Comedy Store was the same way, 8 to 2.
And so you had to do something to stand out, to make them remember you.
Yep.
And they weren't going to remember you if you were just going to go by rote. So, I mean, in many ways, I was very lucky to have, started out in that kind of an environment and I used to love to MC for that very reason, because I could dissect my act and then take little snippets of it to put them in between the different acts when it was needed.
Yeah. And then you can find new gems.
Exactly.
When you break it down. I love, like Mitzi would have me host the potluck on Sunday. So it was 3 hours from 7 to 10. So from 7 to 8 was just the open micers. You had to bring them up, get them out, get them out. There was 20 of them. So I would just get them out, make fun of them, get them out, make fun of each one for like 10 seconds, bring them up, give them good intros, but then like get the audience involved with them if there was
Sure.
audience there. And then from 8 to 9 was the employee comics, the doorman, the parking lot guy,
Oh,
the
wow.
phone guys, the cover booth dudes.
Interesting.
So we would get to do time. And then from 9 to 10 was Missy's showcases.
Gotcha.
So then you had to host those up. And then at 10 o'clock, when you change the room over, then you do your 10-minute set.
Mhm.
And then you pass the baton to the MC for the pop-ins part for the second half. It was a lot of, but it was,
But talk about training, man. And
that was like
that's like going
boot camp.
I was going to say, it's like
It was
going
like-
to college. It's like
yeah.
a master program.
Yeah, I was
You know?
like in graduate school. I
Yeah.
mean, I would try bits here and there and I would write in between.
Mm-hmm.
And just the amount of material I wrote in those years was like insane.
Also, when you're doing that, you change the order
Yep.
of stuff. And I used
And
to
you get
find
out of your little rut.
I used to find out so much about my act by changing the order and changing what came before and after a particular piece. And you would discover different things
Uh-huh.
in the way that they related to each other. And it just gave it that little extra bit of freshness that,
Yeah.
that it needed.
You
know?
added more, you added more side dishes to it that you could serve it with. You could dress it up like, and it is exactly that. You can totally, if you do it separately, and then you normally do it after this bit, but you do it then. It's like, oh, I found this nugget. Oh, I can actually do this here.
Right.
And one thing I always learned too as a comic is all my jokes I write them as closers.
That's great.
And
That's
I want to
great.
make sure every joke I can close on in case I get run out of time and I'm going in my groove, I know how to end it.
Right.
And make sure that bit has a big
strong enough
ending.
That's
yeah.
a great idea. No, I'm telling you. I think part of it too is when you're taking it seriously, you have to take on the responsibility. You have to be cognizant of the fact that your job is to make people laugh. And if you're not doing everything that you can to do that, it's like a surgeon, I don't feel like doing this.
And I'm going to skip the stitches part. I'm just going to fuck them.
I don't feel
tired.
like doing this hernia thing.
Yeah, this person sucks.
You got to step up. I mean, you got to actually. I remember we used to do talkbacks, Broadway shows. If you get a group sale, if it's big enough, they usually get what they call the talkback, which is it's usually after a matinee,
Right.
and the group will come to the front of the house, and whatever cast members, it's not required, but you sit on the stage and you talk and you answer questions, and it's always fun to see what people get out of what you've just done.
Right.
Them.
Yeah.
And somebody said, it was in Chicago, and Sean Mangiamale, I'll never forget it. He was in the dance ensemble. The greatest dancing on Broadway is in Chicago.
Yes, I agree.
What they put themselves through is just unbelievable.
Yep.
He was from Iran, I think, and he's since gone back, but he was incredible and really, really funny, really gifted. And somebody said, how do you make it seem so fresh? How do you make it seem like it's the first time you're saying things? And part of that is in your training as an actor. You learn how to, fake this spontaneity.
Yeah.
But he said, somebody told me that theater is a very special thing. And many times people will associate a moment in their life with going to the theater. They'll commemorate it. They'll celebrate it by going to a Broadway show. It could be an anniversary. It could be a birthday. It could be retirement. It can be a first date. It can be somebody's going to ask somebody to marry them on that night. He said, and it's your responsibility to make the memory of the show as positive as it can to be associated with this moment in their lives. Make it as important so that the whole thing becomes
this huge event in their life, big life-changing events.
And that's your responsibility because, I mean, you got to be grateful to have a gig in show business, period.
Yeah.
But like to be on Broadway, and you can always tell the ones who are like dilettantes and the ones who are like really the serious hardcore who know that it's a business. There's people like Nathan Lane and Dan Radcliffe. They show up to the first day of rehearsal off book. They know all their lines. Dan knew all his lines. He knew all his choreography. He knew all his music. First day of rehearsal.
Wow.
And then I've been doing some directing with this like local in Long Island community theater. It's basically high school, college kids. And we were doing a production of Carrie and Carrie the musical. And we had 6 rehearsals over the course of 3 weeks.
Wow.
To put up the show.
Right.
And I said, okay, by the 3rd rehearsal, you need to be off book. Well, you would have thought I asked them to walk on water. It was like, and they rebelled. It's not fun. It's too much like a job. It's like, so
Oh
well,
my God.
what
What part of it is not a job?
I thought you guys were like, some of you were like looking to do this for a living. Well, I'm here to show you that this is this is not just, it's not show play, it's show business. You know, you gotta take it seriously. But it's, these kids today, they don't want to do nothing. They don't want to wake. They don't want to think. It's just that years ago, I would wear a tuxedo to work. A tuxedo. Every night it was like a bar mitzvah. Every single night. Now they go up with the T-shirts and the cut-off jeans. And it's just, do we have any women in the house? I mean, what is that? You know, it's... I'll drop it to an old Jewish man at the drop of a
I
hat.
love when you do that. That's the beauty. See, this is the magic of Rob Bartlett. He'll just go off on a tangent, and I'm peeing my pants laughing.
I mean, it was funny when we did the benefit for Bob Nelson.
Oh, yeah.
It's the first time I had seen him in 20 years.
Right. You guys had a falling out, didn't you?
Well, yeah, you know, it's the three of us. It was Eddie, Bob, and I were the Identical Triplets. We were this group together.
Right.
And then, of course, Eddie took off, and Bob and I stayed behind. But we worked a lot together. We do the East Side. We booked in the same show, and then we would do stuff together. Rob and Bob, we'd call it. And it was basically these little sketchy things, and it was mostly improv. Two divers, two cavemen discovering how to, you know, speak for the first time, whatever it was. And I hadn't seen him in a really, 20 some odd years. And we were in the back in the podcast studio at Governor's.
Oh, this was magic.
And we were sitting down.
I have that somewhere, by the way.
Do you do?
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to see, because we had those, Judy from Time Life Books headsets, on. And
Judy from Time Life Books is a 70s, early 80s reference that you young kids just lose out on all the deliciousness.
Think of a drive-through patient with that thing and that thing. That's what we had to wear. And so Nelson and I were just
think of a gamer. Gamers wear those.
There you go. Exactly.
See, I brought it up to date, Grandpa.
Thank you so much. Without her, I would still be driving a steam-driven cart. My wheelchair would be a steam-driven...
a horse and carriage chair.
And the horse would be steam-driven. It was... and Bobby and I were sitting in the corner. I said, we look like pilots. And we snapped into this.
Yep.
We just went off in this co-pilot thing. And it was like
10 minutes of magic.
Like I'd seen him the night before. It was like we picked up right where we left off.
That's so true friendship. And that's just really greatness, and knowing each other. Dude, I have to find this clip, and I know Governor's podcast still has it somewhere, but I know I have it somewhere. And
so much fun.
I haven't laughed that hard since the day before.
So much, because we knew each other for so long, and we knew what made each other laugh, and so the idea was try to make each other laugh.
Yep.
And in those days at the East Side Comedy Club, which is like our home base, really, when we all graduated from Dixon's and moved on, and Richie Minervini opened our own club where we could actually get paid, and we would show up on weekends even if we weren't booked.
Yeah.
And just go up on stage doing characters and fucking with the other comics while they were on. And it was just magic. I mean, when Joey Kohler would be there, I would be in the audience as a drunk. I would heckle him. And we would do literally 20 minutes with me heckling him from the back. And it was so much fun. It was in those days, because we had pretty much, it was Long Island comedy. We pretty much invented it. It was like the comedy boom had hit you guys big, and Long Island, we started it. And we were calling all the shots, and it was just like this, the camaraderie and the playground, and we weren't making a lot of money, so it was a purity to it. It was for the love of it. It was for the jazz.
And you have to, I don't care how much money you're making, you have to love this craft.
Because it's brutal. I mean, it's what you go through. I mean, everyone goes into stand-up because they didn't get enough love as a child, or they didn't get enough attention, and they need the acceptance. They need that
outside adoration to fill that empty hole in our heart and soul.
Daddy didn't give me enough attention, and so now I'm going to be a stand-up comic. And so we're putting ourselves in a situation where we're trying to gain this validation from strangers every single night. And it's like walking this stupid tightrope. It's like, put yourself in a position that's the most vulnerable position you could possibly be. Yeah. And why do you do it? Because I can't think of doing anything else.
I can't. And I know next month is my 28th birthday in stand-up.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
She's a kid. But 28... I had my 28th anniversary doing stand-up when I was 67 years old. That's how old.
See, the sky is falling. This is the high-tech technology we have here. See, it's good stuff. It fell down,
It's
and
nice to know that
it's
you have
fallen, and I
career.
got it back up.
Nice to know that you have something to fall back on. This technical thing, in case this comedy thing doesn't work out for you. 28 years.
We'll be right back.
It was like a Joe Franklin segue there for a second. We'll be back with hot soda, my friends.
I fucking love you so much.
You know my Joe Franklin story, right?
You told me before, but I forget, and my audience doesn't know it.
Oh, okay.
So just tell who Joe Franklin is
Joe
first.
Franklin was one of the original talk show hosts. He did a local talk show here in New York on
Very local.
Channel 9. He was like the mayor of Broadway. He was into all things show business. And he was such a legend that huge stars would drop by to do his show. I mean, he had this small studio above what was a porno theater in the old days, but now it's the Hard Rock in Times Square. And he had an office about the size of a broom closet that was floor to ceiling clippings.
Yeah, I've been in his office before.
So you know,
yeah,
it's
when I
floor to
first
ceiling
moved here.
clippings, floor to ceiling, and he'd do like a pre-interview with you, and you come in, you sit down. I said, "Rob Bartlett, my friend, Rob Bartlett is going to be a big star." And I said, what do you think when I say the name Billy Gleason? I said, I'm not familiar. Oh, he gets up and he walks over to this wall of just like sheets of yellow newspaper clippings, and he pulls one out, and it's from Variety. It's a review of Billy Gleason's act from Variety. He was in vaudeville.
God.
And so, but he knew where everything was. So he would have these shows where he would bring the most bizarre, because he did all the booking himself.
Yeah.
So we would have on Liza Minnelli.
Yep.
Then we'd have on somebody who was opening up a deli. And then we'd have somebody, a community theater guy who was doing his tribute to Mark Twain. And then he'd have a birthday party magician. And then what he would do is everyone would do their stuff, and you'd sit on the couch and you get bumped down like all the other talk shows. But he wanted to involve everybody. He wanted everyone to like kind of interact. He said, "So, my friends, the Liza Minnelli is going to be at the Carlisle on Thursday. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go see Liza, and then when we're done, we're going to go over to the comic strip, and we're going to see Rob Bartlett, and then we're going to go down, and we're going to see the magic, and then we're going to all end up at the deli. We're going to have a nice corned beef and we're just." And he would ask everybody to comment on the other guests. Well, I was on very, very early in my career. I was on with Gloria Parker.
Oh, my God.
Who played the musical Glasses. She was a virtuoso. She was, I think, the first female band leader.
Wow.
She had a big band, all women. Really musical genius. And she had glasses that she would fill with different level, and she would play. And she had a record she was putting out. It was musical Glasses at Christmas. So I was on with her. I was on with a guy, I don't remember his name, but he was known as the Holocaust poet because he had written these poems when he was in Dachau or something when he was a kid.
Wow.
And so he had this book that he read
so
from.
sad and
dark.
And
then another act who, well, as the story goes on, you'll find out who the other act was. So, of course, I go on first. I do my act, whatever my 10 minutes were at the time, and I sit down, and he's interviewing me. Rob Bartlett, my friends, we'll be right back after this message of Joseph Speakerman's 16 Varieties of Ethnic Breads with Gloria Parker and her musical Glasses. Then go to break, and then Gloria Parker comes out. She plays "Oh Holy Night." It's unbelievable. The arrangement, all these glasses. Sits down, says, "Rob, what did you think of Gloria Parker's musical Glasses?" I said, "It's great. Some of the notes she hits." I said, "Some dogs show up." And she's not happy. She starts like getting really pissed off at me. Like, no. We're trying to ride this one out. So I'll be right back, my friends, after this message from Hot Soda with Morris Karnofsky, the Holocaust poet. Guy comes out. He reads these poems, and one is more horrifyingly heartbreaking than the next.
Way to bring the room down.
The camera guys are weeping.
Oh, my God.
This guy, I mean, it's just brilliant, this blank verse. And it's just
like, my God.
I get chills now just thinking
Right? I didn't hear it, but I'm getting chills.
Morris Karnofsky, my friends. And Gloria Parker, what do you have to say? But Morris Karnofsky goes, "I'm not very much into poetry, but there are no words." Rob Bartlett, what did you think? I said, well, he's reminding us of a time we should never forget. We'll be right back, my friends, after this message from Crazy Eddie. with Hannibal the clown.
Oh no.
And I turned to look at the camera guy because I'm in the end, thank God.
Right.
And the camera guy goes. So we go from the Holocaust poet to Hannibal the clown.
Oh my God.
Hannibal the clown comes out.
No segues, people. No segues.
No. Come back from break. She's there. She's in the full-on big shoe clown with the pointy hat.
Oh my
And
God.
on her, big blousy clown costume, she's got bicycle horns and bicycle bells and slide whistles and all these noisemakers attached, which she used when she did this little pantomime about a kid losing his balloon at the fair.
Right.
She doesn't speak. She just does all these things.
Right.
She sits down. Hannibal the clown, my friends. Hannibal, what did you think of Rob Bartlett, comedian Rob Bartlett's going to be a big star? And she goes, what did you think of Gloria Parker, the musical glasses? And what did you think of Morris Karnofsky, the Holocaust poet? She does like this. And she puts her hand on the bulb of the bicycle horn and squeezes it really slowly. So it goes, and she goes, I literally fell over the arm of the couch to the side. The camera guy, he turns around, he can't look. We're trying to keep ourselves together.
I'm not laughing.
I'm not laughing at this. Unbelievable.
Yeah, ask a clown with a horn that doesn't speak. How did you think of the Holocaust?
Just so great. Just so great. Yeah, exactly. Ding, 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 ding. Just. with the big shoes, everything. Just,
right here on this stage,
That's
we
right.
got a really big shoe.
It's like the magician who followed the Beatles. Fred Cap, in case you want to do Jeopardy. Fred Cap.
Let me write that down.
K-A-P.
Okay. I fucking love you. You fucking make me laugh. Fucking if those of you got to look up Joe Franklin, because that shit. When I first moved to New York City, somehow I met him at a show, and he invited me to his office. And at the time, it was on 8th Avenue, right above where the McDonald's / Laugh Factory / Dwayne Reed is, porn theater.
Yep.
And the Laugh Factory just opened, and I was just like, ugh, they're gonna push Jamie Masada out of this fucking place, which was great. And so I go up in his office. It was on like 43rd, and go up the back building, and it was this room, like you said, like a closet, and it was just boxes. It looked like All the President's Men in 1977 in the storeroom.
And he knew where everything was.
Everything. And I just went in and I go, what am I getting? Am I going to get raped and murdered? Because I'm from California. I was like, I didn't know Joe Franklin, but I'd met him. And he's like, come to my office. I want to interview you. I want to, talk to you and maybe represent all this stuff. When I went up there, I was like, I got to get out of here. This guy's nuts.
And the people he would get on the show, Liza Minnelli and Judy Garland and Jack Benny and Spinal Tap did it a couple times. The Jay Giles Band was his last guest.
Wow.
Just everybody wanted to do Joe Franklin. And
I met him after all his heyday when he was just
back
Joe.
in the 30s.
Yeah. I met him in the early 2000s.
Oh, wow.
Mid 2000s.
Okay.
So he was done by then.
Yeah, he was pretty much done.
Yeah. He was kind of crazy. And I was just like, I was sitting there next to his desk going, where the fuck am I?
Well, he ran a comedy
Yeah, Joe Franklin's on 8th Avenue.
On 8th Avenue.
And I think that's where I met him. Because I did a spot there with Sheba Mason.
Yeah, the little room.
Little room in the back. Yep. That was like one of my first, because I was here with Paul Mooney working at Caroline. So it kind of like gave me a little clout back then. But but the industry hated Paul because he told them all to go fuck themselves,
homie. You got to respect Paul, man.
Yeah. But they always said, oh, you opened for Paul Mooney? Yeah, you're a little too rough for us. They wouldn't even watch my set.
Really?
Yeah. I got turned away by a lot of clubs. And I'm like, I just killed. How am I too rough? Oh, yeah, well, we didn't watch. We don't need to watch. We know. We know all about Paul. I'm like, it was bad. I went through a really dark phase after Paul Mooney.
It's the
business.
Get a helmet.
Yep.
Because it's not, it's not for the weak-minded.
Nope.
The weak stomach.
But I love it now more at 28 than I did at 0. I love stand-up comedy more now than I did then.
Well, you know more. See,
Because I know more. I'm more experienced. I have a whole different outlook now.
I wouldn't start if I was just starting now. I wouldn't start.
I wouldn't do it either.
Because it's the business has changed so dramatically.
And we're still in a big transition. Like, this is the late 90s again.
Yeah.
You know, the late 90s, it was like the comedy dive.
When the bottom fell out.
We couldn't get people in the club at the Comedy Store. We would go around with Comedy Store tickets that Mitzi had made, the 2-for-1s. And we go to the hotel concierge and say, please give these to the hotel guests. We just need people. Well, we need the drinks. All we need are the 2-drink minimum.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how we started getting people to come back. But it was hard back then. Yeah. And nowadays we're going through it again because they haven't figured out that just because they have a lot of followers on TikTok doesn't necessarily mean they can do a half hour 45 or they're going to actually put butts in the seats.
They pass here whenever the open mic night is here. They pass the audition here on, let's say, a Sunday or a Monday.
Right.
And by Friday, they have their own special.
Yeah. It's insane. Yeah. And we can't get arrested.
No, I can. I find if I go into the subway, I pull down my pants and I go, woo, I can get arrested. Assault with a dead weapon.
I'm doing it.
That deserved it. That deserved it. That deserved it.
Oh, fucking love you. So I always like to wrap up the podcast with 2 questions.
That's it? We're done?
Yeah.
I came all the way in from fucking Long Island on the railroad for this? You could just like 3 questions and blow me off? That's it? Thank God.
Well, you know, you got about 10 minutes left. I want you to get home first. I don't want to have to carry the body. Okay, that was for me. All right, so question 1, I always love to ask because it's fascinating, and also too we get to learn a little comedy history or things that no one would know. Because I have comics come on and they'll tell an obscure local comic bit that's brilliant, or they'll talk about someone from way back in the day that never got their flowers and has passed on now, and so we can give them their flowers even though they're dead. Nobody cares,
right?
And just to and also just shows us what we're into too. It's just fun. It's a fun question. So, is there a comic that you've seen do a bit and you went, holy shit, that's brilliant, I wish I had written that?
There are 2 comics that I can say that about. I suffer from comedian's disease, or I don't laugh at comics. I'll go, that's funny.
But that's how comics laugh.
That's funny.
Wally Collins and I were talking about this.
I wouldn't open with it, but that's funny.
Yeah.
There's 2 comics that can make me laugh out loud, and it's Dave Attell.
Dave Attell's a genius.
And
what's the bit? What's one of his bits?
I would love
or is
to
it
have
his
written
cadence?
but the line that always sticks out in my head. I wrote an article for Tada magazine, a magazine for and about gay magicians. Tada magazine. It's just, I covered that line so much. And Eddie Pepitone is the other one who mentioned that.
Oh, love Eddie Pepitone.
Eddie Pepitone, the 2 of them turn me into jelly. And Eddie Pepitone, again, it's that almost like stream of consciousness.
Yep.
Never the same twice, although the basic concept is the same. When he goes on about his father at the docks, it's just, because it's a character, number 1.
Yep.
I always gravitate towards the character stuff.
Of course.
But he is just so fucking brilliant and makes me laugh so hard when he does the toast of the wedding. That's a genius piece. Let's raise a glass to the bride. She was a whore. Everyone knows she was. I'm not doing it justice. I don't want to attempt it, but I covered those 2 guys. They're just so damn funny.
Fucking hilarious. And one of my favorite Attell lines is when a joke bombs and he'll take the mic and twist it and go, "Excuse me while I turn this back to funny." It's so stupid, but it works every time.
Everything he says is funny.
I just quit drinking back there.
There's a whole thing about baby shoes. His friend was a midget. What is it? That line? He says, I have 3 friends. A midget friend, some friend, and a guy who thinks Lord of the Rings is real. We call ourselves the Unfuckables. I'm not doing it justice, but it's just so great. I've seen him live a couple times, but when his first CD came out, my oldest son was about to go to college, and so I was doing it was doing Little Shop or How to Succeed.
Mhm.
I think it was no, it was actually it was Little Shop. It was Little Shop.
Mhm.
And so he came in, we had dinner, and he came to the show. And then afterwards, we drove out to Brooklyn to Roll and Roaster, which is like this place where they have these amazing roast beef sandwiches. So
Mhm.
it's on the way back to Long Island home.
Right.
And we listened to the David Tell CD. And you know when they say, on the floor laughing?
Yeah.
I literally had to pull off the Belt Parkway because I was laughing so hard. It's just baby shoes. Oh God,
Fucking genius.
funny, really, real genius, and he makes it look so easy.
So easy. He makes it look like he's just making it up as he goes. Like you're just having a conversation with Dave.
Just
He's brilliant. He's one
really
of the
brilliant.
greatest of all.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the greatest of all time. And also, you know how we love to tell street jokes because we're 100 years old.
Okay.
You know,
Mhm.
we always tell them and they're fun and always try to make each other laugh with stupid jokes or
Okay.
dad jokes. So what is your go-to street joke?
I have 3
Okay,
that
Sally.
I go to.
Let's do 'em.
One is a very inside show business joke, which
Oh,
you
I
might
know
like.
this. I know this one. It's great. Tell me. Do it for everybody.
Guy is screenwriter. He's trying to get a screenplay sold. He can't get a screenplay sold. His agent keeps calling him. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. He says he's going to lose his house. His his wife's going to leave him. His kids, got a medical problem. He doesn't know what he's going to do. He's at the end of his rope. One morning, he gets a call from his agent. He says, "Sit down. I got somebody interested in the script." He says, "Who?" He says, "Steven Spielberg." He says, "You shouldn't." He says, "No, Steven Spielberg wants to option your script." The guy's elated. He can't believe the luck. All of a sudden, the sun comes out. His life. Of course, the next day, gets a call from the agent. He says, I don't know how to tell you this, but Spielberg dropped out. And the guy loses it. He says, "Son of a bitch, that best. I'm gonna get a gun and I'm gonna go to his house. I'm gonna put a bullet in his fucking head and I'm gonna put a gun in my mouth and I'm blow the top of my head off." And he leaves. The agent gets on the phone, calls Steven Spielberg, says, Steve, hi, yeah, you know that screenwriter? Yeah, well, he's on the way to your house. He has a gun. He wants to shoot you and then he wants to kill himself. But that's not why I called. And the corollary to that one is the guys, the casting agent's having dinner with a studio head, and the studio head says, have you heard about this Helene Goldberg? And the casting agent says, "Helene Goldberg? Who hasn't heard of her? She's the biggest tramp in Hollywood. She's fucked everybody. She's got no talent. The only way she's ever gotten anywhere is because she gives handies and blowjobs in the parking lot to every single." Studio head goes, "That's my daughter." And the casting agent goes, "Let me finish." One of my favorites is the 3 guys are in the jungle and they get captured by a bunch of cannibals. Mm-hmm. And it's an Englishman and a Frenchman and a guy from Brooklyn. And
I think it's an Englishman, a Frenchman, and this fucking guy from Brooklyn over here.
So the chief says, we are a primitive culture by your standards, and what we do is we capture people, we cook them, we eat them, and then we build canoes out of your skin. We stretch your skin, and we dry it in the sun, and then we stretch it over wood, and we make our canoes out of your skin. It's just, don't be offended. This is just our culture. This is the way we live. He says, but I'm going to give you all the opportunity to choose the method by which you would like to die.
So polite.
So the English guy, and very well spoken.
For a cannibal.
For a cannibal.
Excuse me, I'd like to cut you open and use you as a canoe cover. Would that be all right with you? Oh, bloody hell.
So the Englishman says, all right, I'll take a knife. And the cannibal chief gives him the knife. He goes, "God save the Queen." And he slices his throat, falls over dead. The Frenchman says, "I'll take a knife." The cannibal gives him a knife. He says, "Vive la France." Cuts his and falls over. Guy from Brooklyn says, "I want a fork." The cannibal guy says, "Fork? Yeah, give me a fork." Takes the fork and goes, "Canoes? Here's your fucking canoe.
Way to trash the studio,
I know.
Bartlett.
Well, I bookended it. See, it's a callback to when she did it before. That's very meta. I call back on the callback. And what I just heard too, it's semi-dirty.
Mm-hmm.
This woman meets this guy and she falls in love and they're going to get married. He says, just going to let you know. He says, I'm not going to have sex with you until we're married. She said, that's okay. I respect that. He says, but I want to, you should know this. My penis is the same as a newborn's. She says, my penis is just like a newborn. She said, okay. Their wedding night. And she reaches her hand out of front of his pants. She screams. She said, I thought you said you had a penis of an infant. He says, I do. It's 8 pounds, 7 ounces, 19 inches long.
Good night.
That's my time, folks. Enjoy your headliner. Carrot Top. We'll be right back.
Tip your comic and enjoy your wait staff.
That's right. And don't forget the T-shirt.
Yeah. I fucking love you more than my life.
Oh,
and
I love you too.
And thank you for letting me do the read through with, tell them the name of the play.
Oh, it's called
Soon to be screenplay.
Eating the Midget. Which is a phrase that comics use to describe when they're dying on stage.
Yeah.
Eat the midget. I ate the midget. It's
on the East, it's very East Coast. Yes. Because on the West Coast, we ate a shit sandwich.
A shit sandwich, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's about comics, and it's about the Green Kitchen, which was that used to be a diner on First Avenue, right around the corner from here, between here and Catch, and that's where everyone would accumulate, and that's where we would go to get picked up to do the Connecticut gigs. Or the Improv was where you would do the Jersey gigs, because it was right by the Midtown.
It was set in 1993, right?
Yes, it was the year Carson went off the air. It's a couple of months before Carson's last show. And so it's the desperation of these comics who we've never done The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and the time's running out. So it's all about...
It's a brilliant... I can't wait till it goes live. It's such a brilliant play.
It was fun. It took me 25 years to write it, but...
Doesn't matter. It's brilliant. I really enjoyed it, and I love you to death, and I'm so excited for all of the projects that you're doing, and I just love working with you with anything.
And you're going to do my new podcast, too.
Oh, yeah. So tell everybody where that is and where they can find it.
It's called 5 Favorite Funny Films, where I get funny people to pick 5 of their favorite funny films and just explain why they chose those 5. It's kind of like Desert Island Discs in that, you have a scenario where you can only save 5 DVDs. Which are the ones that you're going to grab?
Right.
And tell me the reasons why. And it's great because it's tough to pick only 5.
It is tough.
Mel Brooks, there's at least 3 from Mel Brooks that I could.
There's a million from every, there's so many, but I have some that I just go off. I'm going to go off when I do a show, I'm going to go off the list of ones that when it comes on or I see it, I have to watch it. Even if I memorize it.
Give me one of them.
How to Beat the High Cost of Living.
What's that?
Jane Curtin.
Jane Curtin.
It's a brilliant, and what's her face? What's her name? The actress, and where they steal the money from the mall, the money ball in the mall, and they because they were both she was divorced and didn't get anything. Oh, that shit was brilliant, and it's such a great movie. And she's at the gas station and her card was declined. It was for 75 cents. She goes, "I'll write you a check." It's a great line. It's just such a funny movie. So I've watched that a million times. But
that's a great one.
Anyway, I love you. Tell everybody where they can find you on the socials.
It's at the Robio. TheRobio. It's on Instagram and I think it's Facebook and I think it's Threads, and I don't do TikTok because I don't want the Chinese people using my image to promote their child porn. Because I was a child porn actor. I don't know if you know that. And
I was a child snuff film actress. I was a background player. I got snuffed. I was snuff number 3.
I was a fluffer for. I would get the person who got cut up. I would get them ready.
That's enough already.
See what she did there?
See, anyway, that's our show. Thanks for watching Old School, New School Comedy Podcast. I've been Christy Miller. This has been Rob Bartlett. Be sure, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the show.
Can I just get
now?
serious for just a second?
Just do it.
Yeah,
Hurry up, because we're running out of time.
Okay. Well, you can cut out some of the shit that I said that wasn't funny.
So there goes the whole episode.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to be around people who you respect and truly admire and just like to be around.
And I'm sorry you got stuck with me today instead.
I'm very, very fortunate because I'm at a stage of my life now where I'm very reflective, and there are things that I think about that I didn't normally think about, and then things that I consider that I have never considered before. And I'm very, very much into that whole thing now. And I had this dream the other night, and it kind of fits into this whole thing. It's just I find that gratitude is the driving force, what keeps you sane, especially in this business. And just shut the fuck up. Would you let me just be serious for a second? And this dream, I was walking down a beach, and there was like this slideshow on the horizon of all these moments of my life, all the high points of my career, when my kids were born, my grandkids, and then there, and in the pictures, God was somehow, however I envisioned God, I knew it in the dream, it was God, was there. And then there was a part of the slideshow where all these horrible things, like, me, because I have Crohn's disease, being in the hospital 50 times and going through all the surgeries, and times when my kids were sick, and, my mother died and all that kind of stuff. But God wasn't in any of those scenes. And then I turned, and who I saw as God was next to me. And I said, why is it that when I was at the high points, you were there, but when I was at the low points, you weren't? And God's, it's all about you, isn't it, Mr. Big Shot? See what I did there? That's what we call the bait and switch.
God, I fucking hate you. All right, you guys, that's our show. If you feel like being baited and switched, look up Rob on the Instagrams at the Robio is a 007,
Because
Rob Bartlett Comedy Hour.
Masturbator.
That too.
For the bait and switch.
Yeah, the master bait and switch.
The masturbator, yes.
Perfect. I love you so much.
She always has to top it. She can't just let a line
I'm
go.
a bottom trying to top, all right? Work with me. I love you. Good night.